Hi Lions, this is Mrs. Doyle and we are back with Almost Super, and Mrs. Doyle is going to read to you chapter 22. It is entitled, Do You Feel It? I pushed myself off the ground and felt a familiar tingling. The same tingling I'd felt just a few days ago sitting on the piano bench. Energy surged through the muscles of my arms, legs, and chest. Charles had his eyes closed and was breathing fast. Juanita was on her hands and knees, her head down. Benny was curled up in a ball. Deep down, even before the sensation was complete, I knew what had happened. I forced myself to stand. The tingling ran through my body. My bones buzzed from my heels to my skull. Pressure built up inside my head, and then, exactly as it had on leap day, something clicked deep inside my brain. My mind blossomed with understanding and knowledge. A final wave of energy rushed through me. And then it was over. Finally, after all this time, I had it. My real power, my true power. Juanita sat crouched on her feet. She steadied herself with one hand on the icy ground, and she held her other hand in front of her face, as if examining it. Benny got to his feet. Shock and delight covered his face. Do you feel it, Rafter? I heard a rush of air, and Benny disappeared. I heard him whooping next to the van. Another whoosh of air, and he stood next to me once more. Speed, he said, a giant grin covering his face. I got speed. Charlie had recovered. He jumped towards Juanita. Give me my phone. Juanita didn't move, but Charles never touched her. I grabbed his wrist and held it firm, tight enough that Charles would know my power, but not so tight as to crush any bones. Strength, just like Grandpa. I could slam my fist into the ground and cause the earth to shake. I could walk to the van, shove my hands in the engine, and lift the vehicle like an empty cardboard box. If I jumped, I would soar 50 feet into the air. And when I landed again, my muscles, my very bones, would withstand the impact. Power surged through me, power that wanted to break free, and yet I had complete control. I grabbed Charles by his arms. I lifted him in the air, then brought him down to me until our noses were almost touching. This power is mine, I said, and nobody will take it away from me again. Do you understand? Please don't hurt me, Charles said. His voice sounded so small. We're not going to hurt you, I said. We're superheroes. Although, if you use your power on us again, we might make things a little uncomfortable for you. Charles nodded. He didn't look too happy. I couldn't help but smile. Benny, get the duct tape. I never leave home without it, Benny said. He dashed to the van and returned in a few seconds with his backpack. It was scorched, but the contents inside were in good shape. He ripped off a strip of tape and stepped towards the villain. Now, Charles, Benny said, in his best tough guy voice, do you want me to do this the easy way or the hard way? Charles tried to run, but before he could take 2 steps, my brother had caught him and taped up his arms, hands, and legs. Benny finished with a strip of tape across his mouth. I'm tired of hearing you talk. Benny stood over the villain, resting one leg on his chest and then raising his arms in the air. Somebody take a picture, he yelled. And then, with another whoop, he was gone, dashing around the dump. I couldn't believe it. Just like that, we'd gotten our powers and beaten the villain. We'd done the impossible. I bent over Charles, who didn't look too happy about being taped up, and retrieved our phones. Juanita was standing now, holding her hands out in front of her. I held out her phone, and she took it, dropping it in her pocket. Juanita, I asked, are you okay? Juanita nodded absently. Yeah, I'm okay. I could see tears in her eyes. I wasn't sure what to say. What do you do when someone says she is okay, but she doesn't appear to be okay? Did you not get the power you wanted? I finally asked. Juanita made a sound that sounded like a sob and laughed, both trying to get it out all at once. I'm sorry, I just wasn't ready for it. Ready for your power? Juanita nodded. I got the same power as... And she lowered her head for a moment and then looked at me again. I got the same power as my mom, and it makes me miss her. Juanita looked so strong and so vulnerable all at the same time. I wanted to put my arm around her, but I didn't dare. It's okay, she said. I'm okay. She wrapped her arms around herself. You know, with Mom gone, it's always just been me and Dad. He's great. He does so much for me, but I've always felt alone. But tonight, working with you and Benny, Juanita looked at me. I felt like I should say something, but I didn't know what. Well, anyway, she said, thanks. I cleared my throat. What's your power? I asked. She smiled and pointed her hand at Charles. A rope of flame poured out of her hand and lit up the night sky. It arched across the darkness, passing a foot over Charles, who was lying on the ground. He tried to scream in terror, but the duct tape kept him relatively quiet. Whoa, said Benny, who had materialized in a rush of wind. That is some wild stuff. Juanita smiled. This is how they did it, she said, holding up Charles' phone. This controls the tower. This gives or takes away powers. Does that mean everybody has their powers back? I asked. I tried to imagine my entire extended family with Juanita's entire extended family, all with their powers back. This could be ugly. Juanita tossed me the phone. I think so. There are only two settings, real powers and fake powers. I looked at the phone. It was a simple interface. I inserted the tower menu and two buttons appeared on the screen. The red button took away powers. The green button gave them back. I had an idea. I slipped Charles' phone into my pocket and pulled out my other phone. Juanita, I said, call your family. Tell them to come here. Why? Juanita asked. I pulled up Dad's number on the screen. We need to do what Oscar Redding could never do. We need to get both families together right now. We need to start talking, and we need to prove once and for all who the real villains are. If that doesn't get the families to stop fighting, nothing will. Juanita nodded and pulled out her phone. We'd done it. 3 kids without real powers had done the impossible. We saved the day. This is when the black helicopter descended from the sky. Bye, guys. See you for chapter 23.